Hello everyone, this is Sliq here, and I'm bringing you a guide on how to make the 8-bit graphics that I made for my NEStiny montage. A lot of people were curious about that, so I decided to make a video about it and show you how it was done. I'm going to try to keep this short and quick, so if it seems like I'm going too fast, it's a video, so you can rewind it and watch it at your leisure forever and ever. So first things first, I didn't actually create this image right here. I created the 8-bitness of it, but it was a simple, and basically anybody can do what I'm about to do. It's just a matter of moving sliders and doing different filters. First things first, I downloaded this image. This is a concept art for the Titan class. There's also concept art for Warlock and Hunter, which I also use, but we're going to focus on this one because, Defender's the dude, so of course you got to stick to Defender. So here's the image right here. I brought it in. All you're going to do is crop it and delete the background. I'm not going to show you how to do that because that's pretty simple stuff. I'm not going to waste your time. So this guy is kind of dark. So first step is I want to lighten him up so you can see a little bit more of the details. I'm going to go down here, go to Image. I'm going to go to Levels. You can also find that up here. That's why I said Image, Adjustments, Levels. I like to do it through this little menu down here because it makes a layer that you can turn on and off, and also you can readjust it later. So I'm going to slide this over to about 160 because that looks pretty good. And I can show you right here, like this is what he is now, this is what we had before. Brighten him up so you can see more of his details. Next step I want to do is Hue Saturation. As I said before, you can go to Image Adjustments. Here's Hue Saturation. It's deselected because you can't apply saturation to this level. But if you select the layer you want to adjust, under Image Adjustments, you can adjust it through these up here as well. But as I said, it creates a little layer for it. You can turn it off and on. I like it better. It's a little bit more user-friendly. Saturation just determines how much color there is. I say how much color, but in layman's terms, it means you can see if I slide all the way to the left where it's off, it's grayscale. Slide all the way to the right, you're a neon super warrior. But we want to go somewhere like, I don't know, 60. 60 seems like a good amount. So it brings out a lot of the color of the guy, makes him punch a lot. Especially for creating these graphics, NES is a lot of bright colors, and they didn't have a huge color palette to work with, so you want to kind of punch things up a bit so they look a little bit awkward. Because whenever by the time you're done, it'll look fine. Hue is the actual color in terms of, like as I said before, he's kind of like here, he's kind of orange, and as we slide it, yellow, green, blue, etc. Since he's void, we want to get into the purple region. I think that looks pretty good. 105, that's a nice solid number. I'm going with even numbers here because I have a bit of OCD. I want to make sure I land on some solid, some even numbers. So there's our guy. We started here, and just through moving some sliders and knowing which settings to adjust, we got this purple majesty right here. Purple Mountain Majesty, that's the name of this Titan. So I'm going to save this file to my desktop. And the next step is to open this in Adobe Illustrator. You need two softwares for this: Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. I had this open before, but I recorded this out in my voice, so I got to reopen it. Yeah, that's fine. All these doesn't matter. First step is you want to make sure it's embedded. This one is. Usually you can just embed by clicking it, and it'll bring it up here. The next step I want to live trace. And you can click it here, but I'm going to go show you the way through the menu. Is go to Object, Live Trace, Tracing Options. Then you're going to select Color, and you're going to select 8 colors. You can select what you can mess with this if you want to, 16, etc. I chose 8 just because, 8-bit, 8 colors. It seemed to work out pretty well, and also it gave a little bit more definition than 6. I'm going to click Trace. You can click Preview if you want to mess with these settings and see them update live, but I know exactly what I want, so I don't need to bother with that. Trace. Now I'm going to show you what I just did. I'm going to zoom in. Now you can see all these weird shapes. If I undo what I just did, you can actually see pixels, right? But what live tracing does is it takes the pixels that are very similar together, groups them up, and then depending on the numbers you selected, it creates a kind of a mean color for the pixels. So I'm going to redo what I did, and as you can see, it basically created a series of shapes, and it simplified the overall image to 8 colors. So these 8 colors are repeated all over the place, and if a pixel was kind of similar in color, it was kind of grouped together into shapes. Now that we've live traced this, I'm going to take this back into Photoshop. I'm going to edit, copy. Now hopefully this won't mess up. The last couple of times it's messed up because of my, no, I don't save changes to that. My Photoshop is kind of weird. Nope, it's good. Okay. So whenever you copy it and you go to paste it, if you go to clipboard, it'll just take whatever you copied and make it the same size. And you never want to go any less than 150 resolution, at least for the core file, the work file. Whenever you export it, if it's for web, you can export it at 72 dpi. Bring it in as pixels. Bing, bang, boom, there's your dude. Here we go. We brought him back into Photoshop. Now you can start to see the pixels again. However, we've cleaned them up and simplified it, so it's not a big deal. You can see right now I've zoomed all the way in, so it's kind of pixelated. And that's essentially the core way we're going to get this to become pixelated. Next step is go to Image Mode Index Color. Flatten layers, it's fine. Transparency is fine. If you have transparency in your image, this will retain it. If you don't, it doesn't affect it at all, so don't worry about it. Next step is we're going to go to image size. Now the image itself is at about 746 pixels. We're going to scale it down to about a quarter of what it was before. And when we do that, we want to have a bunch of options selected. We want scale styles, constrained proportions, resample image, and bicubic best for smooth graphics. These are the three options you want selected, all right? Now we're going to scale it down. Let's just rough it out at 200. I'm not going to bust out the calculator or the abacus and make sure it's identical to what we want. So let's just kind of guess. Let's make it 200 pixels, all right? Now look, he's a little guy. How is this helping us? All right, well, here comes the magic. Here comes the magic, the space magic. Go to image size, and what you're going to do is scale it back up to what it was before. And when you hit OK, bing, bang, boom, look at that shit. Oh my God, he's all pixelated. Now you can see, before, since we live traced it, this is one block of color, and this is one block of color. And if we hadn't done that before, this would be a series of different colored pixels, and it would look pixelated, but it wouldn't look 8-bit because it would look a little bit more high fidelity than the Nintendo could actually handle. So that's why I believe live tracing, and it makes this a very, very, very important step, because it kind of simplifies it, makes it ready for Nintendo graphics. Whereas, you couldn't have really, really intense gradients on a Nintendo. It didn't have the processing power, and you didn't have that many colors. So by live tracing it, you kind of simplify it, and then you end up with something like this. And then all you have to do is bring it in over here. Do it for every single class. I did it for the little icons here. Same exact step. Just downloaded it, live trace, etc. And then I did the exact same for the ghost. I believe that's over here. Nope, it's right over here. Character art, ghost. This guy, you can see, is a little bit more high def because whenever I did the 8 color live trace, there was so much gray that there was actually no color, so I actually had to do 32 colors. So that's why you get some of the orange. But that's why there's so many different layers of gray and stuff, and it looks like 32-bit just because I used 32 colors as opposed to the 8 that I used for the other ones. And then in terms of the main screen, all I did was made a gradient from dark blue to even darker blue in Illustrator, and then I made a series of lines to replicate the director or whatever it's called on the main screen at like 10% opacity. I brought that in, scaled it down, scaled it up, same exact thing. Chose a font that was very similar to the Destiny logo. I don't remember what it is, but if you Google it, it'll come up, and you can find a free font that's a pretty close facsimile. Image mode indexed, all those options selected, scaled it down, scaled it back up, and boom, you have this. I scaled this separately and brought it in, but it's the exact same thing I did before. And then this is a separate font. This is Joysticks. This is a font I used. No, wait, this is Fixsys. There's two fonts I used. There's Fixsys, which you can see up here, Fixsys, and then there's a Joysticks font with H-I-G-A, Joysticks. So those are the two fonts I use for the main thing, and they come kind of pixelated. I say pre-pixelated, but that's just the style they're in. And so I use those, and then as you can see, these lines, which were once crisp in Illustrator, are now pixelated. And then for the stars, all it is just took zoom out a little bit so I don't have that grid. Just take the brush tool, go under brush, and then if you bring down this drop-down menu right here, you go to square brushes, and then you just click all over the place. Just make small brushes for tiny stars, medium brushes for medium stars, and big ones for, I say big, but comparably they're all small. Then you just click all over the place, and you got a bunch of stars, and there you go. In terms of animating, I might do a video on that, but it's pretty simple. You just basically have a few frames of this image, have a few frames of this image, have a few frames of this image, and you repeat. And then you just do it. You have as many frames as you want. Less frames makes it faster, and there you go. That's how it. And then that's how you do the animation. Same exact thing for this. I saved these all out in sequential order so that I could actually do a demo here whenever I finished it. But you just key through it, and there's the animation of selecting the classes. Just make one for each one. And then export them out as separate JPEGs in that one file, and there you go. And that's the entirety of it. So I bet you guys were expecting, hopefully you guys were expecting something like this, because that means that you can create this stuff yourself if you have the software and you have this guide to look at what tools you need. But yeah, for creating the graphics, spent most of my time worried about editing the video, and less of the time spent on actually creating unique pixel art graphics. And I just used a series of different tools in Photoshop and Illustrator to help me get to where I wanted to be. And just a heads up, this is kind of where I was going with this. This is the NES arcade game for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. When I was a youngster, I was a huge fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and this game was fucking amazing. And so I kind of pay homage to that in the character select screen, which is pretty evident. And also worked out because, arc, solar, void, and I could kind of replicate that through the colors that you see here. And that's the guide. I hope you guys liked it. So yeah, if you guys want to make your own pixel art graphics, all you need is Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. I mean, those aren't really expensive. Slash, get an illegal version, which I wouldn't support at all if I were me, which I am. So don't do it. But there you go. If you guys want to make some graphics, use this video and use these softwares, and you can make some pixel art graphics and be a cool guy. All right, take it easy, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video, and see you later.